Good evening, everybody. My name is Todd Scholl. I am the lead learner at the SCEA Center for Educator Wellness and Learning. Welcome to tonight's live stream. We're going to be talking with Kendall Freas from the NEA about student debt relief. And we just hope this is going to be a really helpful session for many of you, for everybody who is dealing with Tropical Storm Idalia. We wish you the best. Our thoughts are with you. I'm currently in the middle of it here in Myrtle Beach. I think the worst of it's coming in a little bit, but doesn't look like it's going to be anything too terrible, although they did close schools here for tomorrow. But again, we wish everybody who is in the path of the storm the best, and our thoughts are with you tonight. I want to, before we get started, just let you know about some events that are coming up. Tomorrow night, Sherilyn Allen is going to join us for a session on member advocacy at 7 o'clock. On September 6th at 7 o'clock, Heaven Hale and Colleen O'Connell will be giving us a tour of the SCEA's website so that you guys can see all the amazing resources that we have available on our really amazing website. On September 21st, we're going to be doing another live stream with some of our South Carolina school librarians, Cassie Owens-Moore from Oconee County and Michelle Spires, the SCASL president, will be joining me for a conversation about book bans and censorship. I think that's going to be a really, really important conversation for us to have. And for those of you who don't know Veronica Primus, she is an amazing human being. And I'm so excited for her to come and talk about circle teaching and the importance of rest. That'll be September 19th at 7 o'clock. And the last thing I wanted to promote was, if you didn't get a chance to see Jed's session last night, he just did a 30-minute session on the playful classroom. And he's going to do a full workshop for us at the SCEA headquarters on September 30th. That's a Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's going to be an incredible day of learning and fun, and everybody who comes will get a signed copy of his book, The Playful Classroom. So if you would like to sign up for that, you can do that at the scea.org/dairyberryday. Again, that's the scea.org/dairyberryday. I also wanted to promote this. I lied. I had one more thing to promote. Steve Newsom, who's an amazing writer, has joined our C3 collective, our cool content creator collective, and he is going to be writing for us and doing some blog posts. And we just posted his first piece today. And you can find that on the Cool website. You can find it on the homepage. If you just scroll down to Cool Views, you'll see his writing. Or you can go to cool.us/post/Sisyphus, and you'll understand what Sisyphus is all about when you read his incredible work. I want to thank Steve and all of our cool content creators for the work they're doing to communicate and to talk about the issues that are important to educators, and not just in some superficial surface level way, but in a really deep way, so that we can really talk about the narratives around public education and the culture in a way that is constructive and where we can create the kind of change that we need for our educators and students. Well, tonight's guest is an affiliate relations specialist with NEA member benefits, and he's been that since 1996. He's a former special education teacher, was also a local and state leader during the 12 years in the classroom. In addition, he served the Ohio Department of Education in various capacities, including as one of the first practicing teachers trained as entry year teacher assessors. Working from the NEA Member Benefits Regional Office in Mansfield, Ohio, Guy serves members and locals in Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia. So without further ado, let's bring on Guy Kendall Freas. Welcome, Guy. How are you tonight?
I am well, Todd. Thank you very much. And thank you for that nice introduction. I'm one of 13 affiliate relations specialists, and I'd like to think I have the best territory of all 13, but I have to say it might be possible to have it be better. And that would be if I could have SCEA added to my territory. But
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. You've come to hear some, I think, really exciting news finally about student loans and student loan forgiveness. I am going to drop in the chat my contact information because, look, some of this information is going to be really confusing. And it is very common for people to want to reach out. Please, if you do need to contact me, if you are so polite that you only want to use normal business hours, it might be weeks. So we're adults. If you call me at midnight, I just might answer the phone. But if I don't, you'll leave a message and I'll get back to you. So let's take a look at some student loan debt. My contact information is also on the screen now. Real quick, this is what we're going to accomplish here. I'm going to take just a couple of seconds to talk about getting the most out of your NEA SCEA membership. We're going to talk about 2 student loan forgiveness programs and eligibility, an update about public service loan forgiveness and other aspects of student loans, including the repayment, the end of the pause. And we'll do a really quick overview of a powerful tool that NEA created in 2019 for NEA members, the NEA Student Debt Navigator, and what it can do for you. So this is one of over 60 programs and services available for members and their families. You can find information about these programs and services if you go to neamb.com/start. With the START extension, it's a little easier to navigate because the 6 most popular programs are going to be front-facing, and that's probably statistically what you came to see. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can see all 60. When you're there, please name a beneficiary for your complimentary life insurance. The NEA Members Insurance Trust is the entity that pays for the Student Debt Navigator. For every NEA member, they pay a premium level service for 1 year, so there's no expense to you. You have complimentary life insurance. It's complimentary. You'll never pay for it, but we do ask you designate a beneficiary to create a paper trail because you will not be there when your family needs to know about it. And if you are one of the less than 50% of our members who have designated beneficiaries, check and make sure it's still current. I'm not going to speak for anyone but me, but in my world, X's deserve nothing more than the joy of my passing. I will not leave an economic benefit to them. NEA member benefits does create greater loyalty. Members who are involved appreciate the association more. Look, this is not the reason to join. It's much more robust than that. It's career insurance, but members who do get involved with member benefits have a greater satisfaction. That Student Debt Navigator I mentioned, since we launched it in 2019, the average member who finds another repayment plan is saving about $2,000 a year in repayments. Since we launched, we have over $731 million of member debt that's now on track for forgiveness at an average of about $54.5 million a year. That's just amazing. So let's start by talking about 2 forgiveness options that at least one of them is likely to be familiar to you, but probably not the best option. So the first is teacher loan forgiveness. And to achieve teacher loan forgiveness, first you have to have the right type of loans. And when we think of loan types, think of evolution, like Generation 1, those are all gone. Generation 2 were loans that were let through the Federal Family Education Loan Program, or FFEL. And those were phased out when federal direct loans were introduced in 2008, and the last FFEL loan was let in 2018. But you have to have either an FFEL or a direct loan in order to be eligible. Further, you cannot have a balance on a loan that was let prior to October 1st of 1998. And if you meet those 2 criteria, it gets a little more complex. You have to be employed 5 complete and consecutive years in a low-income school. That's a building that is where 30% of the students are identified as qualifying for title services. And you can find a directory on the studentaid.gov website. That's the Department of Ed's website for everything around student aid. Simply type in TCLI or low income directory into the search box. and it'll pull up a menu, and you drill down by state and county and municipality and years. The first year of those 5 complete and consecutive years, there is absolutely no exception. That building must be in that directory. But if something happens, there's huge economic boom, and that building's socioeconomic status changes, and maybe in subsequent years, only 25% of the students qualify for title services, they'll hold you harmless because you didn't take any action for that change. If I change employers or if I change building, I'll want to make sure that the new employer or the new building I'm in is on that directory, or else I have to start that 5 complete and consecutive years of service over. I apply after those 5 years. I cannot be in default on that loan, and I can't use the same 5-year period if I am teaching, have service through AmeriCorps, and use that 5-year period for AmeriCorps service. Easy to accomplish that one of those academic years has to be after 1997-98. It is possible to pre-serve some of the 5 complete and consecutive years. For example, if I've been teaching since 2015 and started on my master's, and that's what I want to have forgiven under this program, and my previous at least 4 years were in a low-income school, I have to have 1 additional year after that loan was received. Most of us will probably have 5, but potentially we could have fewer. It is a difficult one to qualify for because they have a very narrow definition of teacher. And it is someone who teaches a student or a group of students in a classroom or classroom-like setting. So that does leave out a lot of our fellow teachers. It leaves out all of our classified employees. It leaves out administrators, guidance counselors, media specialists, therapists, school nurses, and many others who are teachers by license, but don't meet that definition. How much can I get forgiven? Well, this is where this program has lost some of its luster. After 5 complete and consecutive years, if I teach special ed or high school math or science, I could then get the lifetime limit of $17,500 off my loans. If your loan balance is close to that amount, then certainly this is the most expedient route. If it's not, the next slide is going to have the better option. But most of us aren't teaching special ed or high school math or science, and we're limited to $5,000, but that's less than the lifetime limit. So we can go back for a second bite of the apple, complete a second 5 complete and consecutive years, get an additional $5,000, and we could do that again and again for 20 years to get the lifetime max. However, you'll see on the next slide, that's not the way you want to go. Before I go to the next slide, anyone have questions about teacher loan forgiveness? And I apologize, I wasn't keeping up on the chat there.
We don't have any questions yet. We did have a few comments. One was from Todd saying that you're amazing. And
thank you, Todd.
And Mary Rita said that she, in her experience, this information was by far one of the most popular benefits that new educators wanted to discuss. Interestingly, that was my vision when we started this journey of the Student Debt Navigator. And it turns out that there are many, many borrowers who look more like me than an entry-year teacher, because this student loan debt challenge has been exacerbated by, well, let's face it, in the last administration, Cruella DeVos, certainly she absolved student loan servicers of all responsibility for being honest with borrowers. So teacher loan forgiveness is an option. Let's talk about the next option, because this is probably where you want to be unless you have a relatively modest loan balance. Public service loan forgiveness. It's a totally different set of criteria.
My sister is a school secretary, and she resents me for a lot of things. Todd, hotel soaps dipped in chocolate. I think that's hysterical. She called me really bad names. She resents me for that. And she resents me because I had some of my student loans forgiven because I taught. She had to pay back every penny of hers because she's a secretary.
Mm.
It's a new day with public service loan forgiveness. It doesn't matter what you teach or where you teach, or it doesn't even matter if you teach. What matters is, do you work for some government entity, state, county, city, local, tribal, federal government, school districts, certainly are government entities, or a nonprofit agency like Head Start or YMCA, or Head Start would be a federal agency, excuse me, YMCA or Goodyear or Goodwill or United Cerebral Palsy or other such organizations. So I have to work for a qualifying employer, and I have to make, now the slide says 120 qualifying payments. I'm going to change that in my narrative in a minute, and I'm going to talk about them as payment credits, and you'll understand why in just a minute. But they have to match those 120 payments with the same time frame where you worked for a qualifying employer. Those payments don't have to be consecutive, they just have to be cumulative. Unlike teacher loan forgiveness, where you could use that second generation of loans, the FFEL loans, only direct loans qualify. So if you have FFEL loans or Parent Plus loans, those aren't eligible. However, there's a great workaround. It's called consolidation. And that's confusing because consolidation actually has multiple definitions. If you think of consolidation, I have 3 credit cards and I want to consolidate it into one payment with one loan, that is a definition of consolidation. But when we talk about it in terms of student loan forgiveness, it's really analogous to rebranding, where the Department of Ed waves a magic wand and instant magic presto, your FFEL or your Parent Plus loans become direct loans, and they're eligible for forgiveness then. It is suggested, not required, but highly recommend you do the paperwork annually for a couple of reasons. I was earlier this week, Monday, I was in Bardstown, Kentucky, and the local president there said he's having a heck of a time trying to get employment verification from a former school district because he's no longer an employee and he's not high on their priority. It's just easier every year. Plus, I like to see how close am I getting. So it's sort of like a scoreboard. So let's review this criteria real quick. Work for a qualifying employer, and that work is defined as 30 hours a week. It could be that maybe my earliest time in the field of education, I didn't get my dream job, but I substituted in 3 school districts as often as I could. I want to certify my employment with all 3 of those districts because if I can average 30 hours a week with multiple employers, that time will count. Again, they can only be direct loans, easy fix to consolidate those non-qualifying loans. And you have to be in an income-driven repayment plan for the math to work. Many people start out with a standard repayment plan where your loan balance is amortized over a 10-year period or 120 payments. And at the end of making 120 payments, there wouldn't be any balance left, right? So we really need to be on an income-driven repayment plan in order to have a balance eligible for forgiveness. Now, that got confusing because there are 4 different income-driven repayment plans and not a lot of guidance as to which one is the best fit. You could end up with as high as 20% of your discretionary income being your payment cap and actually have a payment higher than a standard repayment payment. Or you could have a payment with a cap of 10%. People just stumbled into these plans. Going forward, I am so excited to share that if you were in an income-driven repayment plan before the payment pause, 2024 is going to be a great year because your payment will probably go down by slightly more than 50%. So,
we had one
those,
question.
oh, yes, sir.
Before we move on. Mary Rita asked, is any debt considered for reduction or forgiveness if you're the co-signer?
Mary, that I have to say, I don't get stumped often, but you have won this prize. I don't know the answer to that because co-signing is most common with private loans. So we might have stumbled on a challenge there. Private loans are not eligible for forgiveness. The federal government has no ability to impact that private contract that you have with that lender. And I'm gonna guess, but I won't. I'll reserve the right that I'm wrong. That you're probably referencing a private loan. If it is a federal loan, I will. Please reach out to me with that question personally, and I'm going to find that answer because now you've really got me concerned. Thank you for asking that.
Thanks,
those four income-driven repayment plans, the interest or income-based repayment (IBR), income contingent repayment (ICR), pay as you earn (pay), and the revised pay as you earn (repay). Those were the four. For borrowers who are using the repay plan when payments restart next month, in 2024, they will automatically move you to the new plan called SAVE. Now, pay as you earn, and revised pay as you earn. It's kind of cool how they've created those names. I have to admit that SAVE doesn't have the pizzazz in that name. It's saving on a valuable education. But what it lacks in pizzazz for its acronym, let me tell you, it more than makes up for in what it does. You see, your repay plan, which would have a cap of 10% of your discretionary income, and discretionary income would be defined as income in excess of 150% of federal poverty rate. Well, that's going to change in 2024. Your payment would be capped at 5% and of your discretionary income. And discretionary income going forward will be income in excess of 225% of federal poverty. So I'll use some statistics that were offered in an interactive session last night, where I asked two members in the audience to tell me their hypothetical family size of 3, and I asked for the hypothetical income, and it was $75,000 for the single mom with 2 kids. Her payment under the SAVE plan, well, 225% of federal poverty level for her family size of 3 is $55,935. So that gives her discretionary income of less than $20,000. And 5% of $20,000 would be $1,000 on an annual basis. Divide that by 12. Oh my gosh. Her payment's going to be less than $100 a month without respect to the amount of debt. That would be her payment if her student loan balance was $10,000. That would be her payment if her student loan debt was $100,000. And oh my gosh, does that make sense to me? We know education is a key for people to stay out of, never get into poverty. And yet we almost require impoverishment to get that education through student loan debt. This changes it. It's an amazing thing. For public service loan forgiveness, you make those 120 income-driven on-time payments. You file for forgiveness. And if they match those payments with the time that you were employed, the entire balance is forgiven. And I have seen just this past weekend, a member near Columbus, Ohio, shared with me $115,000 of loan forgiveness. He said, I am 52 years old and for the first time can think about buying a house. And unfortunately, that's not the highest amount of debt that I've had members that I've worked with members for. The greatest amount I'm aware of was over $250,000. That clearly is evidence that this issue needed to be addressed and that this president is addressing it.
We had a question about Parent Plus loans. Are those?
Yes.
Sharon asked that. Hi, Sharon.
Yeah, Sharon. So what we would have to do with Parent Plus loans is consolidate them. And that's a really simple process. Although I will tell you that more recently, some student loan servicers have started to resist and are misinforming folks. So my recommendation for consolidating would be to use the Department of Ed's website and just leave your servicer out of it. The Department of Ed's website for everything around student loans would be studentaid.gov, studentaid.gov. And consolidate just means rebranding, and that will start the clock for you. For Parent Plus loans, there is a unique challenge, and the challenge is, when do you anticipate retiring? If you say 12 years from now, well, that's a great option because you have the 10 years to make payments. If you would say that you're going to plan to retire in 3 years, this is probably not going to work out in your favor, and you'd be better off to continue to service that debt. And you might even consider refinancing that to a private loan. It would not be eligible for forgiveness, but you'd likely get a more favorable interest rate. So that studentaid.gov website has the public service loan forgiveness application and employment certification form. It's a dual purpose form. And my recommendation is to complete that every year. Last night, a young lady was kind of concerned because she didn't get credit for 6 months. She had 114 potentially eligible payments, and they only could match 108. And I explained to her that was because, I said, this is great news, actually, because you applied that last employment certification a year ago. And a year ago, 12 months have passed since then. And I said, you know, 12 and 108 equals 120. And her face just started to light up. Todd, I have to tell you, it was the most beautiful thing to see her face light up and the tears start to roll down as she realized she's not going to have to start payments again.
That's great.
It's truly great. I have even better news for folks. There are some additional changes that are coming that will probably put you closer to forgiveness. So let's talk about those. During the payment pause, which started officially March 13th of 2020 and continues through tomorrow, it officially ends Friday. Those 43 months, you will get credit whether you made a payment or not. There's 43 free credits right there. Now, some of our people listen to Dave Ramsey. And look, I guess I'm a little bit of a Dave Ramsey fan. Debt is our enemy. But Dave's advice, which made sense, not in the context of forgiveness, though. Dave's advice was, go to town on your student loans because the interest rate is 0. If you did that, you might consider asking your student loan servicer to refund payments that you made since March of 2020. That amount would be refunded to you and then added back onto your loan balance. But the reason I suggest that is you only receive 1 credit for each of those months, whether you made a payment or not. So if I made a payment and got the same credit I would have if I didn't make it, I'd like to have my money back and use that money to begin repayment when it starts in October. And in 2024, payments will reduce by slightly more than half, and you're almost going to get a 2-for-1. Further, there was this limited waiver opportunity. It's closed October 31st of 2022. But if you got in on that, what the Department of Ed allowed is for credit to be applied for payments that you made that might have been late, partial payments. Maybe you made a lump sum payment that would have covered 5 months, but they only counted it as one payment. They extrapolated that over the number of months it would cover. They even gave you credit for payments you made when you didn't have the right type of loan or when you weren't in an income-driven repayment plan. Well, that ended October 31st, but the Biden administration is giving us this great second bite of the apple. And it also applies for people in private sector who could have forgiveness of their loans as well. It's very similar to public service loan forgiveness, but it requires that they have 240 or 300 payment credits, depending on if it was graduate or undergrad loans. So this second bite of the apple will come in the form of a one-time payment adjustment. To qualify, you don't really have to take any action other than to be certain that by December 31st of this year, your loans are direct loans. So I believe it was Mary who asked about Parent Plus loans. Mary, you'll want to make sure by the end of this year, you've consolidated and made it a direct loan. And direct loan and enrolled in an income-driven repayment plan. And when those two criteria are met, they will automatically count past payments, late payments, partial payments, time and deferment and forbearance. That's huge. Student loan servicers made it so easy to go into deferment. Sometimes when you didn't want to, if you took a workshop that gave you 3 credits at a college, that university or college that enrolled you notified the Department of Ed, and your servicer put you in deferment for 12 months. It was a weekend course. We're crying out loud. We probably took advantage of it because it's nice to have a little extra money each month, but interest accrued, and it has exacerbated the challenge. Now we'll get credit for that. For some borrowers, in fact, the 2 that emailed me on Sunday with their great news, that was a result of this second bite of the apple. They were just shocked. They had no idea that they were going to receive that. Those account adjustments were scheduled to start in the first part of 2024. I got to give it to the Biden administration. They have jump-started that. They've already applied it to some 800,000 borrowers. This is incredible. They've also simplified employment certification for adjunct professors, adjunct faculty at certain colleges. Let's see. We know that President Biden tried to do more. He tried to create an option that would have forgiven $10,000 or $20,000, depending on if we had Pell Grants when we were undergrad. And while he certainly had all the legal authority under the HEROES Act, which was adopted by Congress unanimously, only to have them sort of change their mind a few sessions later, the court wrongly found that he didn't have the right to do that. And again, props to this administration, because all the time of the run-up to the court decision, they said, let's just create a plan B and make it even better. And if the court agrees that it was okay, we'll have twice the options. And if they find against us, we'll still have a better outcome from borrowers. That better outcome is the one-time payment adjustment, as well as the new SAVE plan going forward. So strongly encourage people to make sure you have direct loans, enrolled in an income-driven repayment plan. Many borrowers were afraid that, that SAVE plan sounds so good. I don't want to miss it. They say it's automatic. So the Department of Ed even made it easier. You could sort of pre-register if you want to like sleep better at night, knowing that I'm in the save plan. You could do it sort of the opposite. You could sign up now for the save plan. That will put you in the revised pay as you earn plan until save is fully implemented. But it may give you a little more feeling of security that you're not going to be fall through the cracks. The Biden,
We had a
yeah,
question
yes.
about someone asked if we were in deferment while we were in school post grad classes, that could count towards repayment.
Amazing, isn't it? Yes, it's a whole new day with this administration. And I guess I have to say it. We're going to have an election in 2024, and we see the positive change that was made with this administration's election. We have to consider we've got to get the vote out, and I'm not saying that as a partisan remark. I'm saying that as an educator because I'm only going to vote E. I'm going to vote education candidates every single time. We all have issues near and dear to our heart. I just don't think I can do much about those other issues until I'm financially secure and my family is. And until that day comes, E. I'm going to vote for those recommended candidates from my association every election until then, and probably even after. We've covered this. I do want to say you can stay aware of developments as they occur in two ways: the Department of Ed studentaid.gov website, and the NEA Student Debt Navigator will also keep you current and will help you to determine if you're eligible for those two forgiveness plans we talked about. You can pursue both of them, but only one at a time. And now we have a mathematical equation we have to do to see 5 years of service plus the payments to get 5,000 or 17,000. How does that offset my balance? And is it easier to just go 10 years and have the entire balance forgiven? Well, this tool does it for you. And how it works is, the navigator will look at your eligibility and qualifications, set forth the path of the most efficient course to a zero balance, does your paperwork digitally. That probably doesn't sound like much, but in the instructions buried on the top of section 5, which is on the 6th page, it says date should be formatted 2-digit month, 2-digit date, 4-digit year with dashes, not slashes. And I have a colleague whose administrator signed it with slashes and it was rejected. Absurd. So let me show you how it works real quick. Every member will get the premium level at no cost for the first year. And honestly, most members, that's all I need. I'm going to be on a path forward or possibly have no more debt. If I want to use it in subsequent years, I can either go to the do-it-yourself, because I'll admit to being shamelessly cheap. Todd, I will try to push you off the sidewalk to find the loose change in front of you, man. I don't know who, it'll be on. We'll fight for it, but that's how cheap I am. I probably would go to the do-it-yourself. However, for the price of a pizza, it's only $39.95 a year if I choose to stay with it. The way it works, you go to neamb.com/start, click on one of those 6 most popular programs, student debt relief. That'll take you to the Student Debt Navigator site. Click Get Started, and you'll set up an account. Now, NEA members' families can use these programs as well. So if you have a spouse or a kiddo who wants to use it, you will want them to go through your NEA member benefit account so they're recognized as a family member of an NEA member, and you're not charged the $100+ that non-members are charged. So if you've never been to the NEA member benefit website, you'll have a short registration process. And it's just the information you know about yourself. You don't need a membership number. If you're in our membership database, you won't even know that we validated. If you get a message that says you're not eligible, please contact our Member Advocacy Center, and one of our reps will be able to help you. It probably means you're not in the database, or maybe you have multiple records. Once I'm signed in, or my family members want to use the tool, we will each create our own Savvy account. But it went through that central portal of NEA member benefits. When we create our account, all the employment certification is done annually, digitally. You don't have to take any action. Your employer will just get the information. You will populate a lot of information about who you are, where you work, what state you live in, marital status, dependent status. And you'll see there's a lot of expanded information behind these questions. For example, dependence is really more complicated than it might seem. And divorced parents know that, because divorce courts often like to have alternating years, or if it's an even number of children, maybe one parent gets half and the other. But I hope both parents are always supporting those children. So this actually means, who do you provide support for? I mean, if you bought my hard luck story and let me sofa surf for a few months, you could claim me too. It doesn't have to be a preponderance of the support, but it's a pretty liberal opportunity. After you put your information in, they're going to pull some information from your student loans by syncing. You simply sign into your student loan servicer like you're looking at the balance, and you click sync loans. Nothing changes with your loans. They're just going to look at what type of loans you have, what repayment plan you're on, and gather some information so they can make recommendations. And these are what the recommendations look like. So this borrower started with a payment that was $300. Oh goodness, I have to get my glasses. I believe it's $394. And the algorithm behind this tool is saying there's a better option that'll give you a lower payment, a substantially lower payment, over $270 less, or is that right? $217 less. If they choose this payment plan, this would be the pay plan, and you'll see the 4 options. I couldn't fit them all on the screen grab. They could use any of the income-driven repayment plans. This has the lowest payment. They already would have credit for 3 years and 3 months. So they only have 6 years and 7 months to go. Their total outflow would be less than $15,000. And after those remaining payments were made, they would still have a balance of slightly more than $15,000 that would be forgiven in a non-taxable event. It's a pretty incredible tool. So it uploads the information digitally. You can see the progress of your application. Now, admittedly, there's a lot of it hasn't moved, but it at least is a visual recognition that your application has been submitted and received. It has been so frustrating for so many borrowers who applied for the limited waiver to not hear anything. But often there are clues in what they've experienced. So if you're one of those people, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'll help you to figure out where things may be. Occasionally, there are people who need help with their Savvy account, and there is help available through their help center. It's hundreds of frequently asked questions. If you use the Essential, and again, that's free for the first year, you have live chat and voice support. But sometimes call volumes are so high, and one of my pet peeves is voicemail purgatory. Your call is important to us. I don't think it is. If I've waited 4 hours listening to that, they have instituted a scheduling service, which makes it a lot more convenient, that if it's a high volume day, I at least know that on this date at this time, I'm going to have all the time I need to have my questions answered. And further, if there's other information on the NEA member benefit website about the Student Debt Navigator and all the other benefits that are available to help make members' lives better, including, many of us are in that sandwich generation. We still are dealing with our debt, But we have young ones coming up, and they make it a lot easier for young ones to get into debt and very little advice how to get out.
Mm.
So there's a lot of resources that are available there. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing and I'll address the questions. And I realize that this content was delivered really fast. If you send me an email, I will send you a PDF of the PowerPoint slides that I shared.
All right.
And
I think we
um,
might have a question here. No, we have a comment from Tim. Said thanks for all your work on this for the members with NEA member benefits. I don't know if you know Tim, but hi, Tim.
I don't. Thank you, Tim. Look, it is an honor to do this. I got to tell you, folks, you are my heroes for so many reasons. But one is in this world of egocentrism, where there's all this chatter, and you guys remain laser focused on making the future better.
Mm.
That's amazing. And I'll even admit that I can be egocentric sometimes, and I'll prove it right now. I'll go egocentric on you now. I demand that each one of you do everything you can to ensure that every one of our students understands units of measurement with exact precision, because you're creating my future caregivers. Oh
Mm.
my gosh. If legislators thought about you this way, even from an egocentric perspective, they would flood you with money and praise and all the respect that you earn. You
Yeah.
guys are my heroes. I'm sorry, I distracted from the questions.
No, it's okay. Guy, thanks so much for all of this. It's really important. This is making a tangible difference in the lives of people who are working really hard and are often underpaid and overworked, and sometimes working 2 or 3 jobs to make these debt payments, and to get relief from that, so that maybe they have a little more time with their families, maybe a little less stress over their finances, is really such a humane thing to do and a wonderful thing to do. And I want to thank you for doing it. Mary Rita also says thanks. Todd Jake, who you know is watching, and
I do know Tim Myers.
yeah,
Hey, Tim. Wow. This is like the Ohio gang again.
yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate it, and I'm going to put your contact information back up there for everybody who's watching. And if you're watching this in a rebroadcast, there's the contact information right there at the bottom of your screen. You can reach out to Guy at any point, and he'll be happy to help you. Thanks again for your time tonight, Guy, and for what you do.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And thank you, folks, for everything that you do.
Awesome.
Stay well.
Thank you, Guy. That's Guy Kendall Freas. And again, his contact information is on the screen. And, sometimes people ask, why should I join the SCEA and also the NEA? Why can't I just join a state organization? And this is just one of many examples of the kind of benefits that you get from being in a union. And yes, the NEA is the largest labor union in the United States, offering incredible benefits like this kind of student debt relief that will make such a difference in your life. We've saved our members millions and millions of dollars, and that's just one of the many benefits of being a part of our movement at the SCEAs, because you get to be a part of the National Education Association and your local association. We believe very strongly that educators must advocate at the local, state, and national level, and we also must build a collective voice at all 3 levels. And only the South Carolina Education Association offers that to educators here in the state of South Carolina. I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. Donna, hi, how you doing? Inga, good to see you. Todd Jake, of course, our executive director, and Mary Rita, thanks so much for tuning in. Tim Myers, thank you for checking us out. And Colleen O'Connell, always good to hear from you, and everybody else who tuned in tonight. Sharon had some questions, and we just appreciate you tuning in tonight and watching. A couple of things I just wanted before we check out. Please look at the bottom of your screen if you are interested in joining our movement. Like, you're not already a member, but you'd love to join and access this kind of benefit. Go to jointhescea.org or you can text the word join to 48744. And you can start enjoying the benefits of membership in NEA, the SCEA, and your local association. We would love to have you as a part of our movement. And that movement is stronger and stronger every single day as hundreds of new educators are brought into our movement. And this isn't just classroom teachers. We are inviting administrators and bus drivers and cafeteria workers and custodians. All of those folks are welcome to be a part of our movement. I want to remind you that Steve Newsom has written his first blog post for us, and you can find that on the Cool website at cool.us. You can go to the homepage and scroll down and see all the blog posts, or you can go directly to cool.us/post/Sisyphus. And you can find out all of our events that are going on at the SCEA. We have so many things going on. And you can find out what we have going on at the scea.org/events. I want to remind you that Jed Derryberry's Day of Fun Learning is going to take place on September 30th. And you can register for that today at the scea.org/Derryberry Day. You will receive an autographed copy of his book, The Playful Classroom, when you sign up for that. And a couple of tomorrow night, let me pull this announcement off. Give me a second. Tomorrow night, we're going to have Sherilyn Allen on, and she is our member advocacy specialist. She's going to come on at 7 o'clock. And another benefit of being a part of the SCEA is that you get access to our help desk. If you have legal questions, we have folks like Sherilyn on staff that can help you answer those questions. Of course, you get the $3 million worth of liability insurance coverage, but you also get access to great minds like Sherilyn's, and she's going to be with us tomorrow to answer some of your questions about legal questions and policy questions, things like that. And I think that's about all I needed to promote. If you don't want to join yet, you're not interested in joining, but you'd like to learn more about us, we want to connect with you. You can do that on the bottom of the screen right there, the scea.org/YRO. Just complete that form, and someone's going to reach out to you, and we'll connect with you, answer any questions you have about our organization, and about the benefits, about what our movement stands for. And I'm just so proud to be a member of the only educators union in the state of South Carolina, the SCEA. I want to thank Marcella for tuning in. She says, join the scea.org. And Todd's just a reminder of Jed's session on September 30th. So thank you for watching tonight. Everybody who's in the path of Idalia, I'm right now looking out my window and seeing a lot of wind and rain. But we want to, first of all, send our thoughts out to everybody in Florida and Georgia and South Carolina. Anybody who's been impacted by the storm, we wish you the best. And for those of us in South Carolina who are still feeling the effects of the storm, we just send our best thoughts and wishes out to everybody, and we hope you make it through smoothly. School's canceled here tomorrow, here in Horry County, but we hopefully aren't going to get the worst part of the storm. So we'll see you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. You all have a wonderful evening, and thanks for tuning in to another Cool Life.